Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cinemondo podcast with Kathy, Mark, and Burk, talking about movies, TV shows, things like that. Movies made about TV shows or from TV shows, and TV shows made out of movies and whatever.
Or
Epic
spin
TV
or
shows.
spin-offs.
That's right.
Spin-offs.
Teaser for a spin-off. That's what we're looking at
Yes,
today.
this is for the very popular The Walking Dead, which was on USA for like 12 years or something, forever. And I was
they had 12 seasons, I think, 11 or 12 seasons. Yeah,
I think I watched half and I started to fade off.
Did you fade off in the Negan days? Is that when everyone?
I watched the first season of Negan and then I just didn't keep going. So maybe that was season 7 or 8. I'm not sure.
A lot of people dropped off at Negan because he was so mean.
I dropped off before that, so I don't even know who that is, except from what I've seen in pictures.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and he was a really nasty character, but he is one of the characters in this spinoff called The Walking Dead: Dead City, which stars Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan and as Maggie, Lauren Cohen, and it's created by Eli Journey, who I believe Kathy said is Lauren Cohen's significant other. I'm imagining partner. So, and it's coming to USA Network in June. So it's coming around the corner. So it's one of the many spinoffs. Kathy, there's a few other ones.
There's 3 spinoffs happening. One is with Negan and Maggie. One is with Daryl Dixon. And then one is Rick Grimes and Michonne, who in the last season of Walking Dead, there was a little bump at the end that showed a little teaser for the new Michonne Rick Grimes series. So it showed them. The first time we've seen Rick Grimes on screen, I think for 4 years. I mean, I think he hasn't been. So that was huge. Like it was worth it to me. I feel like it got a little generic toward the end. Walking Dead. I feel like it was just they move on to the next city. It's something really cool that people are doing, and then it's terrible. There's a dark underground, and then they destroy it. So that's basically the formula of Walking Dead is going to a new place and destroying it. So that's what they did here. So at the very end of that, the big finale, everyone kind of who survived kind of went their own way. And then we had a little quick, like post-credit ending showing Michonne and Rick Grimes, who we have not seen Rick Grimes in a very long time. So that was very exciting, and I'm very excited to see that. But what I didn't realize is that Negan and Maggie had their own series also, and this is what this is about. So I'm very excited about that.
That's exciting. So, so this is a teaser trailer for the series. Just a little teaser.
Yes, it's a teaser. Yes.
All right. So maybe we should take a look.
Let's watch it.
You're better on your fate.
Good to see you too. You don't trust me? Hell, I wouldn't trust me either. So, you want to tell me where the hell we're going?
Manhattan. I got a plan.
Okay, the most epic thing about this is it's not in Georgia. That is major. They're going to New York because you saw the Statue of Liberty, so it looks like they're going to New York, which I think is a great idea because put the zombies in a big city. We kind of got a taste of that in the first season, Walking Dead, where he went to Atlanta, which was the big city then.
Right.
Let's put them in the big city. I think that'll be fun to see New York.
It seems like they're reading the success of some other sort of zombie film that takes place in cities and stuff, and has you know what I'm talking about.
Well, The Last of Us, mixed in a little bit with. I also thought
like The Last of Us.
Well, I mean, Last of Us went to a bunch of different places. They were
right. I mean, it was
they
Boston,
all over.
Then Kansas
City.
City.
They did have that vibe of it not being in one place for 10,000 years. It was they move through the wasteland of humanity. Humanity's leftover technologies, and the scenes that we saw in The Last of Us where they go to that mall. I thought that was so brilliant where they're looking in the window of this lingerie store and she's like, did people really wear that kind of stuff? And as though they separate themselves from the past. And that really gave so much depth to that show, and seeing the buildings and seeing the city. Whereas I remember I just kind of lost the thread with Walking Dead because it was all just in the forest all the time. And as Georgia woods and pine trees.
They probably figured that out. Like we lost a lot of people because we need to freshen it up. And of course, it reminds me of The Last of Us, but also reminds me, of course, for an much older film, Escape from New York, which is again, wasn't zombies, but it felt kind of that vibe.
The poster for Escape from New York had the Statue of Liberty head, which didn't actually happen in the film, but
also it was way too big. Like the thing was way out of proportion.
Yeah,
Statue of Liberty is like ridiculous.
Yeah.
We saw it in Cloverfield though. Cloverfield had the Statue of Liberty head.
Didn't have an arm. I don't remember. Wasn't it the big flaming arm? I don't remember.
I just remember that the head comes sliding down the street in Cloverfield, and they were like, "Uh-oh,
the poster I think had the arm, but I'm not sure. We'll have to check on that." But I think when it comes to like Last of Us, it was based on the game, so all of the content, all of the stuff, like the mall scene was a DLC that was a downloaded piece of content, a little add-on. So they had those things to work from. And then when this was in production, The Last of Us wasn't out yet. So no one, and I think everybody was like, oh my God, Last of Us is going to bomb. Nobody wants to see zombies anymore. Like, I don't think anyone expected this thing to blow up like it did.
Yeah.
They underestimate horror fans and also the artfulness of the series and the smart showrunner who done Chernobyl. You just got to bring some integrity to your material and bring some variety.
I feel
like The Walking Dead kind of ran out of ideas. And they just
with the Last of Us, I think people are watching that because they like the characters. I think they like the interaction between the two main characters.
Yeah.
There's such a chemistry between them. There's such a great connection between them, and they're both so good. They're such good actors that you watch that show, The Last of Us, and you realize, oh yeah, there weren't any zombies in this whole episode, and but it doesn't matter. It was a really good episode.
That's right. Well, like you said, Craig Mazin knows how to write good characters, and he's focused on the character. And even going to The Walking Dead, the first year was Frank Darabont, who also cared about characters, but he was fired, and then it was turned into something else. So it comes down to character. I care about characters, and when I care about the characters, and the zombies do show up, I really care for their safety, and it turns into some real.
Exactly.
Issues,
I had high hopes for Last of Us because I played the game and I was totally in love with the characters in the game. Because you get totally really well written game, and that was really unusual then to concentrate on a storyline, a through line with this really cool dynamic. I mean, this was nothing new to anyone who played the game because it was something you were afraid they were going to screw up, and they totally didn't. Was the specialness of the relationship, the dynamic interaction with them, the way you get to see their different perspectives back and forth. They're doing that in the show too, where they kind of have where he's gone for a little bit and you show her, which is in the game when you would play her character and he would be kind of checked out for a little bit. So that I was so relieved when they did such a fantastic job with it because the game is so beloved. I mean, it's still one of my favorite games that came out 10 years ago. Now, Walking Dead, it had a lot long. I mean, that was one season for Last of Us. Can Last of Us last for 12 seasons and still be good? I don't know.
True.
I mean, really, but
Walking Dead was based on a comic book as opposed to a video game. So it was a comic book before it was a series.
Yeah.
So they did things in the comic book that that the series kind of changed, and there were certain characters that didn't survive and did survive who didn't and did in the comic book and the TV series. It was really complicated to keep up with it. I guess like the way people kept up with the Game of Thrones and the books, it's different, but the same.
Also budget too, HBO and also, CGI and the way you can recreate a city, make it look very realistic. 15 years ago on Walking Dead, they said, well, basically we have to be in the woods because we can't show cities dilapidated and empty. It's just, we can't pull that off. So some of that is part of it too.
And
that's a big part of it.
Walking Dead did a great job with making the zombies really different. They came up with new fresh ideas to show zombies, different situations, like what they were in and they making how they looked or how they acted. They brought a lot to it. I mean, Greg Nicotero, is his name Nicotero?
Nicotero, can be a
Greg Nicotero, he did the effects and he did a great job keeping that fresh and making this happen.
Agreed.
The series 12
seasons are great. Yeah,
I know. So, and I love that. And then the zombies became secondary also. Like they were the least amount of trouble than the humans. But I do feel like it lost its heart when they took Rick Grimes out of it. That actor was so good. And
I thought
it
lost it when Steven Yeun disappeared. It was like the
Glenn.
But Glenn, when the interesting thing about him is he kind of just faded down through the series when I was watching it.
Yeah, they gave him less and less to do.
Yeah, when it started off, he was like this, the street kid, the plucky guy that could do anything and climb through the buildings and knew his way around the city. And he was a much more interesting character at the beginning in the Frank Darabont days, and then they sort of just kind of lost. It's almost like the writers, the creators, showrunners lost interest in his character.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, that was a kind of a cool type of character.
Yeah, then they, and the other thing about Walking Dead has some great female characters, super strong, great female characters. Maggie, Lauren Cohen being one of them. So I feel like when they kind of sidelined her a little bit and they gave her own place, that also kind of took some of the energy out of it, because then they have Carol, who's still great, who's with Daryl,
And Michonne was like the greatest, she was perfect. She stepped right out of the comic book, which was really cool.
So they had some great female characters. So that was really cool, but it did lose a little bit, it's a familiarity of it. You just get kind of tired of it. So I'm interested though. This looks like a little bit of a refresher. When Negan came on the scene, it was super harsh because his big opening scene was to kill off some really beloved characters all at the same time. Yeah. And that's a hard thing for an actor to carry out, but he brought a humor. I feel like when I saw his performance, that is the performance we need in the show. You need somebody with a sense of humor who's bringing some life and some energy. Everybody was so like blah, so low energy. He brought something to it. So while I hated seeing what they did to Steven Yeun, I loved the energy that this guy brought to the screen. So I was along with Negan for the ride. And then they started kind of rehabilitating his character. Maggie and Steve Yeun were married. Maggie and what was his name in the show? Glenn. So Maggie and Glenn were together. They were, kind of married, I guess, in the Walking Dead terms. And then they had a baby, and it was, so he came along and killed off her husband. So the fact she's in a show with him, and even toward the end of Walking Dead, they have kind of an alliance, but a very unsteady one. Like it feels like Maggie's going to kill Negan at any moment. Right. And he sort of is buying it. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, I know why you don't trust me. I know why you don't like me, but he's redeemed himself in a million different ways up until this point. So
I missed a lot, but I think what drove me away, it was a sense that, and this drives me away from a lot of things that I'm driven away from, is this sense of mean-spiritedness that you get the impression that they're trying to goad me into feeling bad and you mess with me in some way. You know what I mean? Like, I always hated it when you remember Herschel long ago. I guess this is the old guy. Scott Wilson played him. When they killed him in such an ugly way, in such a sort of almost unceremonious, like disrespectful, I guess, way. It just seemed dark and depressing. And I remember thinking, it's just depressing. It depresses me. Right. I got bummed out watching this show. I remember we used to have movie night and we'd watch it. And I just remember driving home, like we'd come over to Kathy's house and watch it. And I remember my wife and I driving home and we were just like, ugh, that show just bums me out.
Horror can be a bummer. And they were trying to take it almost too seriously. But I do like that these two characters who are very prickly and both really strong characters. I mean, I think there's some potential for the series, and then taking it to a new place, I think is really smart. Yeah. And so we didn't get to see a lot in this. We saw a little bit of that moment of like her giving him the side eye and him like, I don't know why you don't trust me.
I wouldn't trust me. He says I wouldn't trust me either.
Yeah, and he keeps going along with her on that because he has a lot of making up to do. I mean, I don't know why she would ever trust him, but again, they need each other. So
maybe it's all a setup so that she can get rid of him somehow or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it.
But you don't want him to. Like, you don't want her to. You do want them to somehow redeem this character because he's such a great actor that I want it to be redeemed. Because I've always loved Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I think he's fantastic. He's great in everything he's in.
So, Deadwood. Right?
Just so good. And I remember seeing him on a Grey's Anatomy episode. That's where he really registered. Everyone remembers the one scene he had that is emblazoned on everyone's brain who's ever seen it. It was spectacular. And all he did was lay in a hospital bed and he totally stole the entire show. Like, it was amazing. So he's a cool actor. So I'm interested in seeing how this goes. We won't make Burk watch it, but I will watch it.
I might check it out because I'll give it a fresh start, even though I haven't watched the last couple of seasons, maybe.
I think I'd have to watch a whole lot to catch up because I don't know the dynamic between these two characters.
You don't need to. You don't need to. I'm sure they'll do some sort of recap, but no, just go along with it, knowing that these two are kind of an alliance, an uneasy alliance, and that they need each other to survive, but they don't trust each other. I mean, he thinks she's going to kill him at any moment. She thinks she's going to kill him at any moment. Who knows? But in a way, they've got each other's back, and he saved her life a million times. So we'll see what happens.
Walking Dead, Dead City, coming to AMC in June. So
here we go.
There you have it.
All right.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye
guys.
everybody.
See ya.